We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. In this evening's headlines, former tennis star and anti-trans person Martina Navratilova faces backlash for her remarks.
Montana native Two-Spirit Society has stood up against the discriminatory Senate Bill 458 and defines male and female and attacks Montana's dignity and equal protection. Why is the Native community asking politicians to pause hate?
It seems the recently expelled gay Republican Senator George Santos is conflicted. Now, he's opposing marriage equality on the second anniversary of his own gay marriage. How do you spell hypocrite?
History happened yesterday when a major American city became the first to ever have a gay mayor and a gay police chief simultaneously to have the top two leadership roles. Is this a sign of things to come in the future?
A major blow to the LGBTQ+ community as we have breaking news that Gay 8, the largest Latino pride festival in America, has been canceled. What happened, and is this a trend we are watching in the queer community?
Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Thursday, December 7th, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
I'm out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and around the globe.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in the LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians, and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 39 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, as we begin, we want to give a special shout out to all of our Jewish relatives, viewers that are my Jewish relatives that are watching this evening. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. We thank you so much for everything you bring to our community.
Absolutely.
And now as we begin to meet the panel for tonight. Up first, I'm sometimes adequate. He's always fabulous. I'm talking, of course, about Dr. Tai Houser, a professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. He also teaches at the College of Business at FAU. He has served as visiting professor at colleges in Bolivia, Brazil, China, India, and Spain. Tai owns Linden Bridge LLC, an educational experience company. Welcome back, Tai.
Thanks. It's good to be here. We'll see if I can keep my eyes open. I've been grading student papers all day.
Oh my gosh. I recognize that glaze. Up next, DJ Eric Restivo. He is a well-known podcaster with his podcast Listen Sweetie, as well as from his work in the clubs across the country, including West Hollywood. Welcome back, Eric.
Happy to be here. It's always a great day when I get to join the roundtable.
It really is.
Yes.
Up next, Paul Thomas. He is currently the chairman of the LGBTQ+ Advisory Committee to the City of Miami Beach, on the board of directors for the Point Foundation, and on the endorsement committee for SAVE. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, everyone. It's happy to be here. risked the Art Basel traffic.
Oh, wow.
I made a trip up from South Beach.
Thank
You're
you.
the MVP.
But earlier today, I got invited over to this cool little thing. You know, Art Basel, they talk about a lot. It's international. All the local artists get really upset that they get pushed out, but they have this really cool thing on Ocean Drive. It's called the Expo Metro Interactive Art Train. And it is so cool. It has art from all over the world on it. It moves around. It'll be in a different location tomorrow. It'll be in another location on Saturday. I got to talk to the Mr. Van Valkenburg.
Sure.
His idea was about equity. We talk a lot about equity, right? And what a great way to bring art to people. So I kind of fell in love with the art train, and then I jumped in my car. And here I am today.
So you've been through it already?
I went and I experienced it, and it was fun.
Very cool. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah.
And finally, Mr. Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 9 books. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, run in a variety of print and online publications, including the always fabulous Out South Florida. Welcome, Gregg.
A pleasure to be with y'all.
Well, we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community around the world is vast. And here are the bullet points for today's queer news. And we start by queering up South Florida and Florida. WMBA Holiday Spectacular has spectacular controversy over Martina Navratilova. Wilton Manors is an extremely open and welcoming community, but extreme anti-trans activist Martina Navratilova is not welcome here. At least that's what some connected to Monday's Holiday Spectacular are saying. The annual event is a fun tradition that generally doesn't warrant much hard news coverage. But this year, organizers find themselves forced to take a stand on trans rights. Expected to perform, or at least she was, at Monday's upcoming event at Richardson Park on the Drive, is Real Housewife of Miami, Julia Lemegova, the wife of tennis icon Navratilova. When word got out that she would be getting possibly 4 free tickets to the event, many in the community reacted. The event is put on by Wilton Manors Business Association, or WMBA. I've talked with multiple people connected to this event, and they are clear in their response. They told us, quote, "The Wilton Manors Business Association is dedicated to fostering an inclusive LGBTQ plus community and unwaveringly supports our trans members. We firmly believe every individual deserves to be treated with dignity, respect, inclusion, and equality regardless of their gender identity. As such, we will only work with performers that share in our values and beliefs. WMBA's board has directed our entertainment partner to remove Julia Lemegova from participating in the upcoming Holiday Spectacular. WMBA remains committed to embracing and uplifting every member of our community regardless of sexual orientation or gender ideology, whether it's gay, straight, bi, trans, queer, or non-binary. In Wilton Manors, there is no room for hate and oppression. We strive for an environment of acceptance and inclusivity." End quote. Now, this is not new. Martina has a long history of anti-trans rhetoric. She has expressed hateful and hurtful comments about the community, and the idea of standing on the stage and seeing her front and center is a difficult idea for many involved. Queer News Tonight host Faye Watt is hosting next week's Holiday Spectacular, and she provided this statement saying, quote, "As a proud out lesbian, I will always stand in solidarity with my trans sisters. Martina's view that trans women aren't lesbians is incorrect. Her assertion that trans girls cannot participate in girls' sports teams is equally misguided. These statements defy the very essence of my beliefs. Trans women are unequivocally women, period." End quote. Martina's rhetoric continued this week when she picked a fight on with Queer News Tonight's story on Twitter X, specifically me. The story reports her factual statement that her story reported as factual that trans women could not be lesbians. A few weeks ago, she called trans women a bad parody of a woman. Here's the part of the story with comments. Martina Navratilova, you're down here in Miami allegedly, and probably, hopefully, watching this. And I'm just going to tell you, you are a bad parody of a human being. The fact that you were a trailblazer and a hero in 1981, great. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being what you were. But the fact is, you're not that anymore. You're not an ally. The T of LGBTQ may not have even been thought of back in 1981. And that's not okay, but it was the times. But we're not 1981 anymore. The LGBTQ plus community is one community. And we have to be there to support each other. No one can make you, but we can make sure that you are not speaking for us. Because going forward, we all need to be together. And if you're not with us, according to your social feeds, you are literally against us. And I stand by every word I said. She doubled down on hate this week when she posted an image of that story and seems to believe that any cis man who criticizes her is a misogynist. Well, she can say what she wants. That doesn't make it true. I have extended an invitation to her to come on the show for a discussion. So far, no word back. But now, our community is doing the right thing. We will stand against hate, be it from Proud Boys, Moms for Liberty, or bigots within our own community. This story really blew up a lot more. I was not expecting to be in a Twitter feud with Martina Navratilova when I started my week. I was not.
But how fabulous!
But how fabulous that it is. Not my first, but certainly my best thus far. But I really need to applaud WMBA because, and first I want to correct a couple of things. In the last 24 hours, this story has really sort of ballooned, and there have been statements that weren't quite true or got taken out of proportion. We've been told that Martina was never given 4 tickets to the event to watch her wife perform. If they were asked for, which we haven't confirmed, but if they were asked for, they were never issued. So let's just put that up right front and center. WMBA has not given her, or has never, they didn't even revoke them because they were never issued tickets to the event. Now, that said, Lemagova of Real Housewives and Martina's wife has shared her sentiments, shared Martina's sentiments as well. So personally, I'm glad to see that it's coming together because WMBA didn't have to do this. They could have just said, okay, we'll go forward and we're just going to close our eyes to this, but they didn't. The board was up in arms. Faye, as we just read, you go girl, she was ready to take a stand on this. It's important. We can't leave behind the T. We can't leave behind the Q. We can't leave behind the L or the G because our enemies are patient. Our enemies are heinously patient. And once they knock off one letter, they'll come after the next. They don't care if it takes decades to knock off each one. They are coming for us. We must stand together against hate, outside and inside.
So I like that you offered the invitation for Martina to come and at least have a forum where she can explain. I'm not going to say defend. I'm not going to say anything other than explain. Like if you're being misrepresented, you can explain yourself.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the history of LGBTQ rights, and I'm thinking about Marsha P. Henderson, and I'm thinking about all the trans activists that really were the ones that began all of this for us, the ones that really never would back down and had no problem being out in front and risking it all and sometimes losing it all. And I remember being of a certain age, there was a lot of discussions back in the 80s. You were talking about 1981 and how the T was consistently left out. Once the movement got going in a certain direction, people started being left out. And to think that in 2023, we're having this discussion with someone so high profile in our community who has made so many inroads and made even being out so possible for so many people. To think that we're still having this conversation is a little bit sad, but you know what? If we have to have the conversation, you made the invitation, we need to talk about it. And we need to make sure that everybody understands, once and for all. so that we can all move forward together.
It's tough for me because you watch them on television, right? They're given this platform, and you don't often see two women, married in love, living under one roof. And here it is on The Real Housewives of Miami, and then you find out that there's a dark side to it. It's really disappointing when you're watching as a viewer. I came in here today not knowing any of this with Martina, so for me, it's also kind of like, how did we get here with this event? How did Julia even get involved in being invited to perform whatsoever at this event if she's got this long history of anti-trans and trans hate? I just think it's really sad when women at home are watching these women on their screens thinking, oh my God, I haven't seen a lesbian power couple like this. And then you go to their Twitter and you find out their real thoughts about the trans community. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I was a tennis player, Yeah. And back in those days, in the 70s and 80s. And so this has been a huge symbol. And I'm really, really sad right now to think that she's unable to find room in her heart to accept other people when she's been out talking about the need for her to be accepted for who she is, that she's finding it hard to be able to extend that to other human beings.
But I would like to thank Martina, actually, and so want to express my gratitude for acknowledging me as one of the two nodding men.
Yes, you were, yes.
And in Czech, I would like to say, děkuji. Means thank you.
A couple of things before we move on. Yes, Greg, in the comment section, there was one, this was great. They were like, how is it that the person in the center is speaking, but, or they basically said Greg and I were speaking, like how is the person on the right speaking without the other person? And I'm like,
they were getting you confused?
Girl, we've been making that joke for years. If you're going to do a little bashing and a little hate, at least make it original, people. Come on. Greg and I have been doppelganging each other. Ooh, doppelgang-banging? I don't know. Doppelganging each other for years.
Tell my husband.
But the thing that makes it...
white guys
I told him the other day. I mean, it's a stereotype for a reason sometimes, Paul. But before we move on, I just want to say, as part of this story, I've had to comb through her Twitter feed. And it's honestly, it's not, when she's not talking about trans, it's shocking how much she really aligns with much of the community. She's anti-Trump, she's pro a lot of social things, but it really does seem like it's just this one thing. And we have to go, are we going to make a litmus test when she's with us on 95% of what we agree on? I'm afraid I'm going to have to say yes, because you can't accept me and not my brother. That's just it. You can't. It's for me. It's a deal breaker. I can't speak for the whole community. I wouldn't presume to speak for the whole community. But some things you just have to go. Yeah, that last thing is important.
And I think when we talk about things like that, the thing is, WMBA is having an event. And it's a holiday event, and it's an organization. And so then it gets away from the personal feelings. A person can feel the way they want to feel.
Yeah.
They have a right to feel that way. But then when you're invited to an event, when it's put on by, an organization that is it's part of the community. It's Wilton Manors. It's not even like a private company.
Yeah.
It's like, so other taxpayers are paying into this.
Well, WMBA's not part of Wilton Manors. It's a private. It is a private individual. Yeah. Obviously, the city supports it in however they can, but it's primarily paid for by WMBA.
But that's when it gets tricky. When other places, I'm sure they had to get permits. They had to get different things. When you start getting these other entities involved, your personal opinions all of a sudden have to be called to the table, and make sure that you're not, offending people.
Right. And do the research before you're going to come someplace. Figure out how they stand, where they stand. Yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously, I will be at Monday's event. At this point, there's probably not going to be any news, which I think is exactly what the organizers want. That's what what it should be. It should be a holiday spectacular. But obviously, I'm just going to go no matter what. I'm kind of bummed I won't get FaceTime with Martina now, but I will be there. I encourage the entire city to come out, not just to support our trans brothers and sisters, which is always important, but just to enjoy our community.
Maybe
come out
she'll
and have
show
fun.
up with their wife, who won't perform.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll show up
It is entirely possible. And if they show up,
sign of, okay.
Highly doubt it.
There is nothing.
Doubt it.
I have, like I said, I've been talking with organizers a lot over the last 24 hours. If Martina wants to show up and buy a ticket, whether it's general admission or a VIP for $99, if she wants to show up, they're not sure if they would or could refuse her entry. They don't know. It's something that why start to cross that bridge if you don't have to? Yeah. But so right now, Martina could show up. We'll see. But she sure as hell is not going to get $400 worth of free tickets to sit up front and essentially sit there as an enemy of our community. So we will definitely be watching.
But if she wants to show up and apologize, she can do that.
I can't speak for women, but I'll be there, and I'll certainly be happy to talk with
I'm just throwing it out there, Martina.
Yeah, come on, girl.
Listen, we love to manifest an apology. I will also
tennis player to tennis player, Martina.
That's fine. I will be there with you. Let's all sit together.
The whole thing's a racket.
Yeah.
Boom.
Eric.
All right. Now, speaking of our trans brothers and sisters, let's queer up trans rights. Why Montana's Two-Spirit people are challenging a state law that defines sex as binary. Good. As they fight to reclaim their history, some in Montana's Two-Spirit community are challenging a state law defining sex as binary because it infringes on their spiritual and cultural beliefs. The law defines male and female based on the presence of XY or XX chromosomes, as well as reproductive systems. The new law inserts those definitions of male and female in several parts of the state's legal code, impacting driver's licenses, demographic records, and the state's anti-discrimination law. Attorneys representing the Montana Two-Spirit Society, along with a group of transgender, intersex, and non-binary Montana residents, filled the challenge. They argue the state's definitions of sex improperly categorize many Montanans, exclude others from legal recognition entirely, and deprive them of the benefits and protections of myriad state laws. The complaint also argues the law violates Montana's dignity, equal protection, privacy, and freedom of speech laws. Two-Spirit is an umbrella term that emerged in the 1990s, referring to people in many Indigenous and Native Americans who historically had both a masculine and feminine spirit and who filled specialized social and spiritual roles. But some LGBTQ+ Native American people also use the term to self-identify. LGBTQ+ activists hope this will have national implications as the court rules on specific issues for Native religious and free speech claims, and how those court decisions could affect other states' laws. So this is kind of staying within the same category, I guess, as what we just spoke about with trans laws, rights. This feels more to me like an attack of freedom of speech right away, just right out of the gate. What do we think?
Well, XX and XY, we have come to learn. I'm listening to you and I'm going, that must be very, very old.
Yeah.
Because if they only talk to a couple of doctors in those states, they'll find out that genetically that's not the way it works anymore, right? And we've known this for a long time now, and it's not binary, and XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes don't determine your sex and sexuality at all.
And not to mention the fact that you can have an XXY chromosome.
Exactly. Most people have XXYs and XYXs, and there's a lot of different things going on chromosomally. So the law may be just very old.
Not to mention Indigenous people and Native Americans both have always had a masculine and feminine kind of crossover when it comes to spiritual aspects and religious aspects. So why now?
And these are the leaders that are most in touch with the truth in those cultures.
I'm glad they're standing up. It's very, very important, and I'm glad they're standing up, and they're going to make them take another look. I'm hoping that it's just old information that's on a law that they can get rid of really quickly. And not
I think they said they're discussing it later in December, and then they'll go from there.
Well, and like they said, the Two-Spirit moniker is relatively new, that label. But as you said, they have existed probably longer than Montana has been a state.
Absolutely.
And certainly far longer than Montana has had legal codes.
Yeah.
So their history and presence deserves to be recognized.
Now, one thing that is interesting, when you look at the law and you think, well, they're talking about two-spirit, and they're talking about spirituality.
Right.
And the law is written based on old medical
Science.
jargon.
Old
Right,
science. Yeah.
You're right.
And it's like, well, these two things aren't even, you know what I mean? It's like, they need to clean it up. Clean it up, man.
Yeah.
And as they clean up, I just want to put a little perspective on it. So we've got the state that passed a law. We've got tribal land that is sovereign. So basically they're looking to be recognized once they step off of the tribal land. But also Native Americans are protected under a lot of federal code as well. So you've got a lot going on here. So I'm not a lawyer, and I do play one though on television like right now. But so we have to see how this works out. Will it be a federal case? Will it pass the state? This is going to be a long road. But I'm so happy to see our indigenous LGBTQ plus 2S brothers and sisters coming out and starting to make this this progress. Because if you don't petition for progress never happens.
Right.
You know, some tribes are moving towards marriage equality now because they weren't forced to do marriage equality, again, because it's sovereign land. So it's great to see our First Nations and our indigenous people coming forward as pro their community.
And it would be nice to see them mix more in with general society, right? Because they're talking about when they leave their protected lands. And that would be nice to see a lot more indigenous people in society, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, why should they just be kept in that one little piece of land?
In society as indigenous people, true to their heritage.
Exactly, exactly, fully.
Because obviously they're in society, but you're talking about true to their heritage, who they are.
Not just on the reservation.
Absolutely.
Society, like, why don't I see them in Publix? Come on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Publix is trash.
Okay, no. If someone spits in my pub sub that I'm getting after the show, I'm completely blaming you. Publix people would never do that.
I forgot
they would not do that. All right, let's move on.
Let's move on. We're going to start by queering up gay culture. George Santos opposed marriage equality on the second anniversary of his marriage to a man. Out former Republican Representative George Santos spent his last hours in office attacking LGBTQ plus rights, including marriage equality. Last week, he celebrated his second anniversary of marriage to a man named Matt, and he shared a picture with his husband on social media. Later in the day, he told a group of reporters in the Capitol that he opposes his own right to get married. According to an audio recording obtained by Business Insider, Santos says he opposed marriage equality. His comments were framed on his explanation of how he works with the more extreme Republicans in the House. The current Republican Party platform denounces marriage equality, saying marriage and family are based on marriage between one man and one woman. The new ultra-Christian nationalist House Speaker Mike Johnson has been a loud voice opposing marriage equality. The GOP attacks the Supreme Court's 2015 Obergefell decision as silly, as it has legalized marriage equality in all 50 states. Santos's personal views, despite being married to a man himself, aren't different from his party platform. He said he got married because that was the option, but doesn't think it should be called marriage. He stated that he's not against marriage equality, but opposes marriage by the government in general. This guy is such a case of what's going on in the 21st century. How go away.
That's all I'm thinking.
I mean, can you be more self-hateful?
Yes.
Yes,
you can, actually.
I'm thinking, who cares what George Santos thinks? Who cares?
Well, the only thing that could make this story better would be if Georgie Porgy's hubby Matt, actually filed for divorce. Oh, and happy anniversary, boys.
Or if they have wedding pictures and he's in drag.
This is just one of the downfalls of social media. We were talking about it quickly before, but it's just like, without social media, would George Santos still exist? You know, it's like, oh, this presence has come to this now internet presence.
Right.
And it's just like, we've created a monster. I mean, it's awful.
I mean, he will fade. He's only been out of Congress less than a week. You know, he's
Kicked out of Congress.
He's making $200 per cameo
Oh, he's
now.
on
He's on Cameo. Yeah.
Wow.
So guess what you're getting for your birthday?
Christmas.
Yeah. Yay.
What's Cameo?
You can ask a
famous
celebrity.
Yeah.
You can ask them to wish someone a happy birthday or something like that. So he's doing that now.
Going cheap, though.
He's a
I
celebrity.
did it for my father once for the guy who plays Chucky. He's like, he did the voice of Chucky. It was like $75.
that's so cool.
It was, he loved it.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about this except somehow George Santos has made me rethink my stance on marriage equality.
Well, that is.
I'm gonna need a whiskey with Paul after the show.
Right. The sad part is, he's voicing these opinions from that platform, which is very, very hateful. And it's,
It's dangerous.
You're reading it, and I'm going, well, the ultra Christian. I'm going, well, there's separation of church and state, so I don't care what your religion is. And it's like all these things are thrown into what is the problem. If you don't want to get married to a gay person, then just say no when they ask you to marry them.
Well, he thought it was an
Go
option.
on.
That's the thing. Like, it was an option, so we did it.
Yeah.
So I was really committed to getting
The
married.
box, the
fun
check.
of it.
Why not?
No, seriously, he needs to have, his husband needs to have a T-shirt that just says
on an
this is option.
Yeah, I was
Option one.
With an option to buy, I guess. All right, Paul.
Now, guess which is the largest city in America with a gay mayor and a gay police chief?
Oh, I know this one. I know this one.
It's close. It's close by. Having a gay mayor of a large American city is rare. Having a gay police chief of a large American city is even more rare. Having a gay mayor and a gay police chief for a large American city is, well, it's never happened before. History was made yesterday as Fort Lauderdale broke that new ground. William Bill Schultz has more than 23 years of experience in law enforcement, has led innovations in the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, and is a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community. Now he is leading the department. In 2020, FLPD's Facebook page posted a video where Schultz, then a captain, talked about his career in law enforcement and being one of the first openly gay male officers the department has ever had. Schultz is clearly the perfect choice for the city. Fort Lauderdale Mayor Dean Trantelis, himself also LGBTQ+, is happy with the decision and hopes Schultz will improve the department. And rightly so, as Fort Lauderdale is the largest city in America to have a gay mayor and a gay police chief. Trantelis is running for re-election in 2024. Schultz's appointment comes with a lot of responsibilities amidst the current environment where hate crimes fueled by the terrorist attack, there's a lot more hate crimes being recorded because of what's going on in the Middle East and the terrorist attack on Israel by Hamas. The numbers have gone even higher nationally and in Florida. There are also hate crimes in other minority communities, especially among trans citizens. Many of these crimes are unsolved or unreported because of a chasm of distrust between citizens and police. Schultz says he has plans for this. Schultz, a graduate of the FBI National Academy and the Police Executive Research Forum's Senior Management Institute for Police, ensures other officers have experience in dealing with hate crimes. This is a much-needed step to ensure the community's safety and keep its spirit intact, and is a symbol for all in America to watch and emulate for the purposes of diversity and respect for all members of our communities. This is a really interesting story in that it was only a couple of months ago I did a story here on the last police chief who was brought in to help with all these issues.
Yes, and he put his retirement in.
He was fired.
No, he was fired. The most recent one, I believe, retired.
He was fired.
And then the one before him.
No, he was fired for hiring and promoting diversity.
Right.
Yes.
And he was brought in to do that. And he was brought in to do that, and he promoted 15 people.
Yeah.
6 of them were from marginalized communities, and they fired him for doing what they asked him to do.
Yeah.
So I'm really I'm confused about this whole article. I'm like, okay, is this a way to make up for the wrong firing? What is this?
Well,
exactly.
There has been a bit of a revolving door at the police department. I believe he's going to be the 5th police chief in 5 or 6 years. Okay, I was thinking of the interim person. Well, the person was fired back in February or March, and then there was an interim until Bill came. And so Bill is is technically replacing the interim. But yes, you're right in that he's also sort of replacing the person from a few months ago. But you're right. It's been 5 or 6 in the last few
So I'm wondering,
months.
Okay, so now you have a gay, I mean, is that a token? They put that Trantelis is running for office, like, oh, are we just going to fill the role with and make it look good?
Right.
What are we exactly doing? Because I tried to research and figure out whatever happened with the last guy who said he was going to make a lawsuit because they brought him in to increase diversity, and he did that, and then they fired him for increasing diversity, and then they kind of throw a Band-Aid over with a gay police chief. I'm not sure what's going on in Fort Lauderdale. You guys need to get it together up there.
Now, I'll tell you, I interviewed Bill. I was the first person to interview him after he got the appointment. This was about a month ago. And the article is in Out South Florida, so outsfl.com, so go check it out. But I'll give you a couple quotes here. He told me, "I'm just so happy to openly represent the LGBTQ plus community as a police chief in South Florida." And his first his first goal is to do community outreach, not just to the LGBTQ community, but also to our Caribbean community and our Hispanic community as well. And he told me, it wasn't recording, but it wasn't off the record. He told me that it's a huge challenge, and that his first goal is to get out into the community himself with the Hispanic Fort Lauderdale Police Officers Association, with the Black Fort Lauderdale Police Officers Association, the LGBTQ group. He is not going to just send people. He is going to be going out and meeting with the community. Well, it's all good. It's all good to say it on day one. I know that we have to come back and do this story again in 6 months because we have to see how promises have been fulfilled. But I have hope.
I'm really, I guess, being a person from a marginalized community and watching when they promote someone who's a person of color, and then they're like, okay, our job is done, but no real systemic changes actually happen, and so all the problems stay there. That's what I'm worried about with this story. It's like, well, the last guy was doing what he was told to do, and that was an issue. So what exactly? And then he's like, well, I'm happy to be an out gay police chief. Okay, but we don't need a token. We need systemic changes. The LGBTQ community up here needs to feel safe. They need to know that the police department is working for them too and protecting them too.
Well, I think
not harming them.
I think
so we need to make sure that the system is working the way it's supposed to. We don't need a token.
Those changes happen with outreach because it's through it has to, because it's through visibility and it's through listening and speaking, and it's through interacting with the community that those things will start to emerge. And like John said, we'll do this story again in a couple of months and see where we stand. But I mean, it's very rare that I get a chance to say that I'm proud to be from South Florida or Fort Lauderdale.
Me too.
And this is one of those times. It's like, okay, this is, at least on the surface, it looks good. And so now let's get the substance there. As you're saying,
I mean,
Paul.
in Miami Beach, they just made the first time ever they have a black police chief. Wow. And they're like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do y'all think about that? I mean, are the police getting trained? Because they don't know what pronouns are. They're misgendering people. I'm getting constant calls and complaints from our community. We had hate crimes happen. We can't get them pushed up to hate crime level. The people are walking away. They're not even going to, it's like, I don't care what color the police is.
Well, that's why I don't go to Miami.
Change.
That's why I don't go to Miami.
Right. Greg, come on in.
Breaking news.
No. I thought you wanted to talk about this.
Well, no, just I agreed that I'm proud to say that a gay mayor and a gay chief of police. Hello, Fort Lauderdale. I call you home. Thank you.
Eric, do you have anything?
I don't have much to add. It doesn't feel so new to me because in California everyone's gay. So we had the gay police. So it's not my first time with the gay chief officer. But do I feel proud to live in Fort Lauderdale right now at this time? Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And
but I'd like to follow up with you. So let's go onto the field and find out more information in 6 months. I'd like to find out.
I love being in the field.
Yeah.
But yes. Yes,
I always heard you were outstanding in your field.
But we will be following this story. Like I said, and I totally understand you. I'm willing to give Bill a break, perhaps because I've met him several times. But yes, we are going to follow this.
Yeah.
Your point of view and
against
concerns.
Bill.
I know it's absolutely not personal.
Good at. I hope he doesn't get fired like the last guy.
Yes, so do I. We have high hopes. We have high hopes. It's a hard bar to clear, Bill. But you're the person we have. We're excited to have you, and best of luck. And keep my phone number and email on speed dial because I'm going to be following up on this. Now, Gregg, breaking news.
And now, breaking news: the largest LGBTQ Latino pride in America, South Florida's Gay Ocho Festival, is canceled. Gay Ocho, or the nationally famous Gay 8 Festival, has been canceled. Hotspots magazine, Happening Out, and Queer News Tonight have for months pursued details on a sponsorship of support, but details of the 2024 event were incomplete. Today, Gay Ocho issued a statement to Queer News Tonight saying, quote, "It is with heavy hearts that we share the difficult decision to cancel the Gay 8 Festival for 2024. This decision was made after extensive deliberation and understanding that meeting the exceptional standards you've come to anticipate would not be feasible this year," end quote. Gay Ocho is a reference to Little Havana's 8th Street and the heart of one of America's largest Latino communities. Gay 8 is part of Forward Miami. In November, Damian Pardo, Gay Ocho's well-known executive director, was the first ever LGBTQ plus person elected to Miami City Commission. Alyssa Ramos, Gay 8 Festival chairwoman, told Queer News Tonight, quote, "We are disappointed to announce the cancellation. It saddens us. However, we want to make sure we produce a quality event and just don't have the support from the community like we've had in the past. We are confident we can come back in 2025 stronger than ever," end quote. In an exclusive interview, longtime Gay Ocho director, Queer News Tonight anchor, and It's Happening Out host, Jonathan Casañas, said, quote, "The decision needed to be made, but I am sad. Not only because we didn't get the support we needed, but I'm sad for those who look forward to the festival every year. People constantly approach me saying how Gay Ocho impacted their lives. Maybe now, with our first gay city commissioner, we can get the support we deserve back from the city," end quote. The festival was particularly impactful because it was held in the heart of the Cuban and Latino community of Miami-Dade County that has culturally and historically not been inclusive with the LGBTQ plus community. As many as 100,000 have attended the LGBTQ plus Latino Pride event. Everyone remembers World Pride New York, when a large delegation from the Gay 8 Festival marched in the World Pride Parade. There is a large hole now in the LGBTQ plus community, and we hope solutions will be found in the future to return Miami and all of South Florida to its prominence for the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, it's so weird because every year I say, I'm gonna go. And I've been living here 10 years and I haven't gone yet. And guess what? Now I can't go because they canceled it. So for those that got to experience it, I'm sure it was a wonderful event, and I'll just have to stick around to 2025.
It was a great event. I remember being involved with Gay 8 from its inception, helping to get sponsorships, and I'm just confused about the story when they say they're not having support from the community, and at the end of the story, it sounded like they weren't getting support from the city of Miami, which I'm not really sure where the support is not coming from to put on the festival. If it's coming from the city of Miami, then that's a very serious issue, right? That all LGBTQ organizations would have to look out for. From the governor, they've talked about how can they get rid of LGBTQ organizations altogether, and Republicans are running a lot of these districts, and so if somewhere in there they're refusing to do something to allow it to happen, right? Then that's a very serious issue that our whole community needs to know about.
Well,
now
we need to show up and vote. You guys, you got to start voting.
You do have to vote, but yes, I didn't do the interview with Jonathan or the leader of Gay 8, but they do seem to allude to a lack of support. But
But from where?
But you and I we've both been around. We know that sometimes you don't put people on blast because you're still trying to woo them back in. So I'm guessing that's maybe not why they're naming names.
I don't know, but I think it's really important. I think, Mr. Reporter here, you need to find out. It's really important if for some reason the support from the city itself, meaning they can't get permits or they're not providing whatever financial support that they used to provide because it's an LGBTQ event, right? Now this is discrimination coming from our public officials, and that needs to be in every newspaper.
Yes, possibly. We don't know that yet, though. We don't know.
Yeah,
but the hardest part about this story is that it's a slap on the other cheek, because just the other day Pride Fort Lauderdale announced it wasn't going to happen this year. Now Gay Ocho is not going to do it. So it's like, is this a trend that we're seeing, or is this just two unfortunate, unrelated events? I don't know.
I mean, well, they are unrelated. We don't, I guess you said.
Well, but I mean as a trend rather than.
As a trend, yeah, that is something we have to look out for. Pride Fort Lauderdale is just complete lack of faith from the community and severe financial mismanagement. That is why Pride is on a hiatus and sort of glomming onto Wilton Manors and leaving Fort Lauderdale. This, you're right. This still has more questions than we're answering tonight. And
I mean, I would feel better if they said, you know what, Damien's running for office. He hasn't been able to put in the work. It takes a lot of work. You guys know that I've been involved with putting on events like that for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, right? And if he's running for office, that takes a lot of work. And if he didn't have the time to make this happen, and so they're laying off for a year, that makes sense to me. If it's something else, though, then we need to be aware of that. I'm really concerned about conversation from Tallahassee about how do we get rid of the LGBTQ? I mean, you've seen DeSantis going to colleges, and he's affected, Mickey Mouse, and to make sure that we're not subtly under attack and we're not aware of it.
And this is the third legacy event that we've lost this fall, because yes, there's Pride Fort Lauderdale, there's Gay Ocho, and Smart Ride. Let's not forget that. That is a huge community event that is also going under for also a completely different reason, because times change, because methods of fundraising change. This is a period of transition, and we have to find out what's happening. And sometimes you just have to say, okay, this is where we're going to go. This is how we didn't anticipate going this way, but this is the way we're going.
On the upside, been many years, probably every year, it was an amazing event.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the first year when everyone was shocked to see the old Cuban guys in Domino Park playing fichas with the drag queens. Oh, wow. And everybody was just listening to music, and everybody was having fun, and we were all pointing, going, this is the point. I also remember many of the stores didn't want to be open on Gate the first year, because they were concerned about those people being there all day. And after they saw the success of the parade, that then every store wanted to be open. And the last year, if I remember correctly, they were telling me that the next block was like, how come you're not extending it down to our block?
Wow.
So it was doing what these things were meant to do, right? It was really, all of a sudden, the acceptance of the community was coming together. And so I'm really sad that it won't be there in January. Hopefully nothing bad is happening politically, and hopefully they'll be back in 2020.
We look forward to it. Next, we're proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up business. Sephora challenges toxic masculinity by giving something beautiful for Christmas. A French multinational retailer of personal care and beauty products, Sephora, is back with another inclusive and refreshing commercial to advertise its lip gloss and challenge the perspective of toxic masculinity. The Sephora Give Something Beautiful commercial motivates viewers to see beauty and belong to something beautiful as it shows a man applying lip gloss. The video has received thousands of views already, and the LGBTQ plus community is loving what the brand has to say. The commercial is setting a perfect queer Christmas mood.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News, let's queer up the world. Nepal's first same-sex married couple say next generation will not suffer like we did. The first gay couple in Nepal to have their marriage officially recognized vows to campaign for changes in the law to help others like them to get married. Surendra Pandey and Maya Gurung were able to legally register their marriage at a village council office this week in the mountains west of the capital, Kathmandu. Pandey is a man and Gurung a transgender woman. Talking to reporters, Gurung said they will continue their campaign for marriage equality and fight to bring sexual equality and bring equality to sexual minorities in the country.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up business. Record number of businesses showing support for LGBTQ plus. The Human Rights Campaign Foundation issued its Corporate Equality Index this week and shows the workforce is more allied for the LGBTQ plus community than ever before. In 2002, the first year of the index, only 319 businesses participated to determine if their policies were meeting criteria. This year, nearly 1,400 companies voluntarily took part in the review, and the results are overwhelmingly positive. The CEI reports a record-breaking 95% of businesses reviewed have non-discrimination protections in place, specifically regarding gender identity. That's an exceptional jump from 2002 when it was only 5%. Equally as promising is the 94% of businesses offering transgender inclusive health insurance coverage to employees, compared to 0% in 2002. The HRC survey finds a near 100% diversity and equality commitment from corporate America in all aspects of their business management.
1 minute news. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Pride Fort Lauderdale president Mike Martorell critically injured. Yesterday, Pride Fort Lauderdale president Mike Martorell was critically injured in a workplace accident and is hospitalized. An apparent fall has created very serious injuries, including a reported dislocated elbow, broken arm with a bone exposed, fractured facial bones, and black eyes. Graphic images of Martorell in hospital have been privately shared among members of the South Florida LGBTQ+ community, but because they have not been shared publicly, we have chosen not to show them on the show. In related news, we broke the news yesterday that Pride Fort Lauderdale February Beach Parade and Festival has been canceled and rescheduled to February 2025. Martorell announced that Pride on the Drive in Wilton Manors would expand to 2 days this February. Everyone at Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network wish Mike a speedy recovery.
LGBTQ+ 1 minute news. Let's queer up politics. DeSantis decries weaponization of federal government while he weaponizes Florida government. The governor, who has used the state apparatus to punish Disney over its right to free speech and tried to shut down local businesses for hosting drag shows, wants Americans to think he will stop the weaponization of the federal government. Ron DeSantis' shtick about slitting throats of deep state federal bureaucrats is a tired trope he's repeated several times to survive as a Republican presidential candidate. DeSantis has, in the name of fighting woke culture, injected divisive politics to virtually every corner of state government. He has exerted big government control over what teachers and professors can say about race in the classroom and what private businesses can include in their diversity training. Yet, he wants to persuade Republican voters he's their last hope against an all-too-powerful state. In this week's GOP debate, it was revealed that latest polls show DeSantis 40 points behind Donald Trump nationally and 32 points behind in his home state of Florida. That is today's news for the LGBTQ+ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ+ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ+ news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm John Hayden, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Dr. Tai Houser, DJ Eric, Dr. Paul Thomas, and DJ Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you a very good night.